Hello everyone, my name is Revati Ganesagaran. I'm from Group 1. Today me and my group members going to present about fruit classification. Let's start. Introduction. Fruit is a structure found only in angiosperm. Fruit develops solely from ovary and its contents are known as true fruit. Fruit developed from ovary and its contents plus additional parts of flower such as petals and sepals are known as accessory fruit. Dry fruits. There are two major types of dry fruits, which is dehiscent fruit and indehiscent fruit. Dehiscent fruit are dry fruits which at maturity open by defined nature beings to shed the contained seeds. As for indehiscent fruit, it is also a dry fruit but it does not open when mature to shed the seeds. Many of indehiscent fruits are one-seeded fruits.
Okay, first for the dry or simple fruit, we have dehiscent fruit. What is dehiscent fruit? Dehiscent fruit is a type of fruit that splits open at maturity to release the seeds into the environment. And if we want to compare between dehiscent and indehiscent fruit is, dehiscent fruit, it bursts on their own without having to rely on decomposition or predation to disperse their seed, while indehiscent, it have to rely on external force in order to disperse their seeds. There are 6 types of dehiscent fruit. First one is follicle, legume, siliqua, silicula, septicidal capsule, and loculicidal capsule.
Legume. Legume splits along two lines of dehiscence following maturation and drying. The legume fruit derived from a simple ovary with 2 rows of ovules. This type of fruit structure has characteristics of peas, beans and peanuts. Peanut is one of the few legumes that does not split when ripe. This is because the fruit of peanut develops in soil rather than air. This is an example in which we can see it. Next is follicle. Follicle is a dry dehiscent fruit developed from one carpel and at maturity splitting along one suture. Columbine and milkweed plants produce fruits that known as follicle. Fruit of follicle develop from a single ripe ovary and split once to release their seeds. The splits always lengthwise along one edge of carpel. This is an example in which we can see it.
Next, we have septicidal capsule. Septicidal capsule is a type of fruit dehisced or split by separating between the septa of adjacent carpels. The example we have here is Aristolochia species. Aristolochia species have 6 carpels that are crenate. Okay, next we have loculicidal capsule. For the loculicidal capsule, the fruit dehisces or splits longitudinally through the locules. The example here we have yucca fruits which have 3 carpels that are crenate. If we want to compare between loculicidal capsule and septicidal capsule, for the septicidal capsule, the splitting occur in between the septa, and for the loculicidal capsule, the splitting occur longitudinally. Okay, for the siliqua, siliqua is a type of fruit or seed capsules that having 2 fused carpels, and the length is being more than 3 times of the width. As we can see in the picture below, the septum is situated between the 2 valves or 2 carpels, and the examples for the siliqua is cardamine impatiens. Next is silicula. Silicula, it is short and broad if we want to compare with siliqua. Silicula, it separates at maturity into 2 or 4 segments called valves, leaving a persistent partitions that bears the seed. Okay, for the silicula, as we can see in the picture below, it is more rounded if we want to compare with siliqua, which is siliqua, it is long and slim, while silicula, it is more rounded and broad. And the example for silicula is Lunaria rediviva. Another type of dry fruit is the indehiscent fruit. Indehiscent is a fruit that does not open at maturity, and so this fruit has to wait until animal consumption or deterioration to discharge seeds. There's a few types of indehiscent fruit. The first one is akin. The akin is the typical fruit of the sunflower family. It is small, one-seeded fruit containing single seed, and the seeds are attached by funiculus, but the seed coat is free from the inner wall of the pericarp. The example of akin are buckwheat and sunflowers. Buckwheat is a three-sided akin, resembles miniature nuts from the beech tree. The hulled akins or groats are used in several brands of hot and cold breakfast cereals, and the seeds are ground into flour, which is used for pancakes, noodles, and breads. Sunflower seed with stripped pericarp is used primarily for food. Seed from akin with solid black pericarp are used for sunflower oil. The next one is caryopsis. In A, it is a grain-bearing spikelette showing a pair of slender basal bracts and the stalk. The inflorescence is composed of numerous spikelettes, each bearing a rice grain. B is an empty spikelette with the lemma and palea slightly separated from each other. These two leathery bracts enclose the grain or caryopsis. C is a grain, or the caryopsis. It is removed from spikelette. Beneath the brownish outer pericarp and seed coat layers is the endosperm tissue. Next is the nut. In this figure, we can see the oak, which is a true nut, also called as a cone. This nut is one-seeded fruit with hard pericarp, developing from a superior, bi, or polycarpellary ovary with hard and woody pericarp. The one-seeded nut of an acorn sits in a cup-shaped involucre composed of numerous overlapping scales. The types of nut is chestnut and hazelnut. In the chestnut, the involucre is composed of numerous slender spines rather than scales as in acorn cups, and the American chestnut is produced in a spiny cup-shaped involucre. The American filbert of the eastern United States produces a one-seeded nut enclosed in an involucre of leafy brake. The nut is produced in an elongate tubular involucre. The last one is the cypsela. Akin and cypsela are basically the same, and we can differentiate them based on a few characteristics. The akin is a dry indehiscent simple fruit developed from a single couple which has a superior ovary, while the cypsela is a dry indehiscent simple fruit developed from two couples which have inferior ovaries. And in the akin, it developed from a single couple, while the cypsela developed from two couples. Akin does not contain a pappus, but the cypsela contain a pappus. Akin originates from a superior ovary, and the cypsela originates from an inferior ovary. And the example of akin is buttercup family, sunflower family, rose family, and strawberry, while the cypsela is the dandelion and daisy family.
Next, let's continue with Samara. Samara is a fruit produced by a flowering plant. It is further categorized as a dry indehiscent fruit. Samara has a casing or wall that extends to one side in a wing-like shape. In some plants, the wing extends to both sides of the seed. In this fruit structure, Samara disperse seed by spinning to the ground, sometimes catching the wind and traveling further. This is ideal for the plant because it helps it spread and cover more territory with new plants. Example is red maple fruit. Next, we have septifragal capsule. Septifragal capsule is a valvular capsule in which the outer walls break away from the septa and usually exhale placentae valve. It also takes place along both the dorsal sutures and the edge of the carpels. It separates into a number of valves, having a septum carrying the seed in the middle. Example for this type of root is a datura. And next, in schizocarpy. Schizocarpy is a dry fruit that, when mature, split up into mericarp. Schizocarpy, also known as a dry fruit, composed of multiple carpels that separate. It can contain one or more seeds. Schizocarp is an indehiscent remaining closed and does not release the seed. Indehiscent, it's splitting open to release the seed. This is similar to what happens with a capsule, but with an extra stage. We have schizocarp type, which is cremocarp, Lomentum, Samaroid, Regma, and the others. Next, in a schizocarpic fruit, I will explain about Lomentum. Lomentum is a dry fruit of some leguminous plant. It has constriction between the seed and dividing at maturity into single-seeded segment mericarp. Lomentum is a type of indehiscent legume fruit that breaks apart. Example of this Lomentum fruit is a thick trefoil and sweetbash.
Let's continue with Regma. Regma is a dry, indehiscent fruit formed from ovary that tricapillary, Synacoppus, trilocular, and superior. This fruit split into one-seeded cochi away from its central axis, but still remain attached to carpophore. As example, castor, bean, and geranium seed. Next is Querciculus. Querciculus is a small, dry, indehiscent fruit derived from bicapillary, Synacoppus, tetralocular, and superior ovary. This fruit split into 4 one-seeded segments known as nutlets. It remains enclosed by the persistent calyx. As example, country mallow seeds and basil seeds. Next is cremocarp. Cremocarp formed from bicapillary, Synacoppus, bilocular, inferior ovary. Special about these dry indehiscent fruits, upon dehiscence, the fruit split into 2 one-seeded carpels called mericarp. Although the mericarp split, it remains attached to central stalk called carpophore. As example, fennel seed and carrot seed. And lastly, double samara. It formed from ovary that bicapillary and superior. It's quite similar to acne. It have one-seeded fruit, contain 1 seed, and is pericarp free from seed coat. The difference between samara and acne is its pericarp wall extends into thin peppery wing for airborne dispersal. As you can see at the bottom left picture, the maple seeds. So basically, double samara is a simple dry indehiscent fruit composed of 2 seed-bearing pericarps, each with elongated wings.
That's all from us. Thank you.